or the 1970s?
They'll come back. They cannot die, mostly.
This is episode 202, recorded November 8th, 2023.
Gruesome Magazine.
Hello once again. I'm your host, Doc Rodden. This podcast is about horror films released between 1970 and 1979. Each episode, my co-host Jeff Mohr and I will tackle another classic, or not so classic, film from this wondrous, groovy, gory, and influential decade. We are gathered tonight to talk about the Blood Spattered Bride. Right, Bill? No L. Spattered.
No, she wasn't splattered. She was spattered. Get it right.
Yes. All right. But before we do that, let me introduce my crew. Starting off with the one and only Jeff Mohr. Jeff, how you doing?
I am excellent.
Not yours, sir. Also joining us tonight is Bill Mulligan, writer, director, special effects guru, and all-around nice guy, and published author of
Rome. Thank you. Makes its weekly appearance.
Buy your copy today.
I'm better than bad. I'm good.
Oh, wow, nice. Also joining us tonight is Chad Hunt, comic book artist, co-host of Decades of Horror, Classic Era in the 80s, and a writer and director all to himself.
Yeah.
Well, that didn't come out right, but you know what I mean, sir.
Yeah, we know what you're talking about. Glad somebody does.
Me too, because usually they don't. All right. We are here. Well, I'll tell you what, before we get into our review review process and all that, English is really a cool language that sometimes I goof up. Jeff, why don't you tell us a little about Play Now Media?
Yeah, we are partnering with Play Now Media, a company that has a bajillion streaming channels. We are on, I don't know, maybe a half a dozen or so of those. But
half a bajillion.
Decades of Horror, the 1970s, is on the Wicked Horror TV channel. And in fact, today's pick is on Wicked Horror TV channel.
Ooh. Yes, it is.
So,
and that's where I watched
it. Goes. It's some cool stuff on there, and I think you can go there for free, or you can get a year subscription for around $50 or $60. I think $50. I haven't looked in a bit, so I should probably not keep bringing that up, but
a bargain.
All right, well, let's get into the card and get into our review of this wonderful Italian gem.
Spanish
even. It's Spanish. Why did I say Italian?
It's a European.
We don't know.
You have trouble with countries too.
I do. All right, I'll see you guys. No, all right.
So you're not good at English or geography. What did you excel in high school? Math and home economics?
Home economics.
Am I reading this one, Doc?
You are indeed. Give us a card here, buddy.
Okay. So our topic this episode is The Blood Spattered Bride, which we've already mentioned. 1972 release, directed by Vicente Aranda, written by Aranda from Sheridan Le Fanu's novella, Carmila. Cast includes Simón, Andreu, Maribel, Martín, Alexandra, Bastedo, Dean, Selmier, Rosa M. Rodriguez, and I am open to corrected pronunciations on all of those. Production company is Morgana Films, filmed in Galicia, Spain. Galicia? Ignore the filming date.
I was going to
say. Not right. Release date, 30th of September 1972 in Spain, 3rd of January 1974 in Mexico, and April 1974 in the U.S. The box office is in Spanish pesetas, 23.7 million back then, which translates to 2.75 million in today's U.S. dollars. Also counted as over 500,000 theater admissions in Spain. Also known as, or the original title is La Novia Ensangrentada, The Bloody Bride. The cut version was known as Till Death Do Us Part. Blood Castle was another alternative English title, and Blood Fiance, alternative title. And the synopsis is: Newlywed Susan is haunted by visions of Mircalla Karnstein, a centuries-old bride who murdered her husband on their wedding night. And here in this picture, we have one of the most bizarre scenes in cinema history, I believe, that surprised the hell out of me. And we're going to talk about that later on, maybe when we get the feedback on how this movie was called to our attention. And then we watched it. So
I just want to say, whenever I'm at the beach looking through the sand, I find like used beer tabs and medical waste.
Never naked people.
Never. Naked people? Okay.
Right.
Nope.
You just got to go to the right beach.
I'm looking, but I don't know.
That's
All
probably
right.
true.
Well, let's go around and find out when we first saw this film and what was our initial impression, and does it hold up today? Who picked this, Chad or you, Jeff? Or Bill? Bill. You're going first.
Yeah. So this first got on my radar. There was a wonderful trailer collection called Mad Runs Previews from Hell. And if you ever get a chance to watch it, it's great because they're just the bloodiest, goriest, sleazy trailers, sometimes showing things that were not actually in the movies, that got cut out. I just loved it. And there was a killer trailer for this. This one was paired up with I Dismember Mama. Yeah. And you just got to watch that trailer. Look it up on YouTube or whatever. Look for the double feature trailer. It is the funniest thing. They actually put a skit on. So I was like, yeah, I got to check this out sometime. But literally, the first time I saw the entire movie was like 3 days ago. Yeah, it's been that long. Yeah, and I got to say, it's bonkers. It's really crazy. Even, this movie, when you think about it, this was made toward the end of the Franco regime. I mean, Spain was under a dictatorship that had started somewhere around World War II and outlasted all the other ones. There was a lot of repression going on. So some of the horror films from that era are interesting because you get the feeling that the filmmakers wanted to talk about the regime, but that kind of stuff could get you jailed.
Or killed.
And so, yeah. So, it's like, oh, no, I'm not talking about the government. I'm talking about vampires, parasitic aristocrats who suck the blood from the regular folks. Yeah, not a metaphor at all. And so that makes some of them kind of interesting. But this one, even for that, it's crazy. It has a weird narrative structure. Things I feel like the entire thing is an unreliable narrator. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to think is actually happening and isn't. Things like finding a beautiful naked woman under the sand with a snorkel is just treated as one of life's kooky mysteries. It happens, and we'll never talk of it again. Just crazy. But, for a lesbian vampire movie, which it very much is, it's one of the lesbianist vampirists. There's really something, they're trying to say something here. Now, it's not Carmila. I mean, other than using the name and just the basic lesbian vampire motif, it's got nothing to do with the novel, but there haven't been too many literal adaptations of Carmila. They just take the little bits they want. But I got to say, it's striking. It's well composed. It's professionally made. Everything. The women are gorgeous. It's got some really cool bits to it. It's just a very strange film. You have to be the right sort of person in the right frame of mind, I think, to appreciate its charms. But I really enjoyed it. So I'm glad I picked it. But I'm waiting to see what others think, because this could go either way. I have no idea if you guys liked it or not. So I'm eager to find out.
Let's find out what Chad has to say next. Sir, what was your first impression of the Blood Spattered Bride, and when did you see it first?
I have never heard of this until now.
Really?
So yeah,
Okay.
I just saw it, just watched it. We've watched a lot of other movies based on the Karnstein vampires, and so this one I was kind of interested to see, and you know how a lot of times you watch a movie and it kind of depends on the mood you're in going in, whether you're going to like it or not. I was bored to tears for the first hour of this movie, or 45 minutes of this movie. It was just uh, a lot of stuff I didn't understand what was going on. It had some strange comedy in it. I assume there was one scene where uh, the husband rips, the housemaid just told her it's bad luck to rip your wedding dress. So first thing the husband does is rip her dress off and rip her clothes off. And of course uh, I'm just going to say it. There's bush, and then the very next scene cuts to the landscaping guy clipping the weeds on the. I didn't know whether to laugh at that or was that a mistake. It had some good gore in it. I'll tell you that. Some good bloody moments in it. But it was just it's like Bill said. It was a strange film. It was just. I didn't know who was the good guy, who was the bad guy. There wasn't really any good guys. Even the husband, who was supposedly the good guy, was an a-hole. He treated him, or he treated her like complete dirt. No wonder she didn't want him to touch her. And I think that was probably one of the messages of the movie. The men are bad, patriarchy bad, or something.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm glad I watched it because it's an interesting film. But I was bored half the time and very interested in what was going on during the last part of it. What was going on there. It was okay. It was okay. I didn't see anything particularly outstanding about it or anything like that.
Oh my. All right, let's see where in these extremes Jeff lies. Jeff, when did you first see Blood Spattered Bride, and what was your first impression?
Should I do it now or later on how this movie came up for us?
Now's a good time, since you mentioned it.
Okay. Well, we had a comment. 2 years ago.
Wow.
So, don't think that we don't we don't pay attention and don't finally
move
get around
swiftly
to doing movies. From Wes Diorio. And this was actually a PS to one of his comments. I was 4 or 5 years old. My favorite show was on Saturday afternoons called either Chiller or Thriller, which showed all kinds of classic movies. The first one I remember watching was, well, I can't remember what it was called, but I'm hoping one of you can help. My fuzzy memories of this movie are that it was in color and it was possibly British, Hammer or something else. At least to my more trained adult eye, seen through the lens of time 40 years on, it was probably British based on my memory of the overall look of the film. One of the early scenes involved a man, possibly Christopher Lee, finding a woman on the beach as if she were washed ashore or left there. He brushes the sand off of her and brings her home, only to discover how odd and potentially dangerous she is. He notices that she wears a lot of rings, and she wears them inward so that the jewels point to her palms as she closes her hand instead of outward like normal people wear them. Of course, we as the audience know she is a witch or satanic or evil in some way, which the main character slowly discovers. Does this ring a bell to anyone? Excuse me. Don't hold me to the Christopher Lee part. As I said, this was a movie I saw once about 40 years ago. All right. So we were clueless.
Yeah.
And he came back later and said he had talked to somebody else and they had filled him in, and it was the Blood Spattered Bride. Blah. I'm thinking at 4 or 5 years old watching it on TV. He did not.
I'm amazed they showed this on Saturday morning.
I'm sure they didn't uncover the woman on the beach, but we did have the hand sticking there. So I watched it as soon as I found it somewhere, and I know I watched it at least like 6 months ago, and I was actually kind of impressed. I like this quite a bit, actually. I think it's visually got some cool stuff. It's got a story that kind of makes sense once I think that you realize that somehow or another, the Carmilla or Mircalla character is somehow inducing hallucinations or nightmares in Susan's character, because there's a lot of stuff that she sees or does that, like in the next shot, hasn't happened.
Yeah.
And in the first like half of the movie. So, but I liked it a lot. Thought it was good.
Well, my memory of this is seeing it in the VHS stores early on. I was probably late teens, and I remember renting it and hating it. I don't even know if I even watched the whole thing. And that's my memory of it. I couldn't tell you anything about it other than the fact that I rented it and didn't like it. And so I've been kind of avoiding this movie ever since. And it was really interesting to watch it and discover, well, it's really not that bad. I can see why I disliked it as a younger person, because it is slow, Chad. It is slow. And the first half of it will test your patience, I think. Many, especially newer horror fans, who are used to the MTV crowd, as us boomers like to say.
MTV, wow.
You know what I mean. But anyway, they.
What's that?
Yeah, it's definitely, the pacing is definitely going to be an issue. I think I like this a little more than Chad, but definitely not as much as Bill and Jeff. There are a couple scenes I really like, and they actually had clothes on for those scenes. And then there's this, we'll get into it in the spoilery section, but there's this weird scene at the beginning, and I'm not really sure what exactly happened. I mean, I know what it's implying, but it doesn't come up again, and and then like the whole, somebody said something about unreliable narrators. So did it really happen? And why is it even there in the first place? Because it doesn't really.
I think I know what you're talking about.
The story, yeah.
You're talking about the essay at the beginning.
Yeah. Let's get into. If you haven't seen the film, we're getting into all the spoilers of it. But there's a.
If Carmilla was influencing her, she was trying to turn her against her husband and men in general. So I think she was a new bride. So Carmilla.
But how did she even know about her at this point?
Who knows? It's a 70s Spanish horror.
Well, she sees Carmilla in a car as they drive up.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I forgot about that.
So she sort of implanted that in her to get that seed going of man hating.
Did the guy look like her husband? Just with
that nose is pretty distinct.
Yeah. He had a hose or something over his
head. It never happened. Though.
Penny hose, not a garden hose.
No.
It never happened, because later on her husband walks into the room and she's there in her wedding dress and it's not all tore up.
Right.
Which the guy,
that's
seems
why
like she's being raped. Yeah. That's why I just assumed
it made me think that Carmilla was making her have that vision or something.
Yeah, very, very unclear. Very unclear, like much of the dream sequences are.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't figure that out until, like Jeff said, till the end.
Or like me, never.
I mean, once her husband shows up, because I was thinking too, boy, this guy looks like her husband. Right. And then her husband shows up, and I'm going, what is it? Is this like hours later or something? But then I'd see the dress isn't torn, so I'm going, oh, this is some kind of weird. Maybe Carmilla induced this vision of the guy who sure seemed like her husband, only he had the pantyhose over his head or whatever.
So you got a panty on your head.
As he comes jumping out of the closet.
You're not the only one confused, Doc, because I've read a few reviews of this that treat that incident like it actually happened. And that the husband did it, and that was some kind of role playing gone horribly wrong. And I'm watching him. I don't think that's what the filmmaker was trying to do, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
but then he does rip her dress apart in the next scene where he actually comes in to
but it's
marriage.
Yeah. I mean, it's masochistic, but it's not a sexual assault. They're married, and he just takes it too far, and she backs away, right? But then succumbs.
And what happens for the rest of the movie? Bad luck. You should have listened.
Bad
Should have
luck.
listened to the maid.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yes, oh, that's true.
Yep. They know things.
That's the reason why it all happens. Okay.
But
Yeah,
at some point,
that's clear.
people that are killed, because there's another scene where she kills her husband,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But he's
Right.
still around.
and then he gets up. There's no blood in the bed. There's nothing.
Right.
but
And she's leaning
at
over
some
top
point-
of him, sleeping.
At some point, when they kill people, they actually are killed. Right?
Yeah. You know what scene I wish had been just a dream sequence? And I could forget it. Killing the fox. Because once again,
Oh,
yeah, we got to stick this into just a warning for people out there who dislike this as much as I do. This has to go in the realm of movies that I'm pretty sure animals were harmed in the making of.
Yeah, that was real. That
It was.
real
It
too.
was.
that was. It was.
There
it
was a
was
fox in
definitely.
the trap, and they walked up and shot the fox
Yeah.
on screen.
Yeah.
Right.
Very disturbing.
Yeah, definitely a trigger scene for
And
modern audiences.
But
listen-
that guy later on gets the same.
yeah,
treatment.
he does. Yeah, that's fine. And listen, I have nothing against hunting. I'm not anti-hunting. I'm a meat eater. I know where it comes from. But shooting a fox whose leg is stuck in a trap is to hunting what going to McDonald's and ordering a fillet of fish is to fishing. There is absolutely zero sport in shooting an animal caught in a leg trap. I just
Was he? I took it as he was putting it out of its misery, but at the same time, it's still. Why is it
Yeah,
even
he's-
in there? Why is it even?
he
in
set
the
because
movie?
he set the trap. Oh, I got to put you out of the
Well,
misery
it's
that I put you in.
it sort of set up the scene later when Carmila was stuck in the
Oh,
trap.
that's true.
Yeah,
That's why
yeah,
it's
it
there.
did.
Yeah,
and
it's
Well, and
Chekhov's trap.
normally when
Yeah.
they're trapping, they're going to sell the hides or the furs. So
Well, if it's full of
shooting them with a
buckshot.
shotgun would not be what you do
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
with
the
a
guy.
fur that you wanted to save.
Yeah, the actual hunter seemed a little perturbed about the whole thing. The guy that later
Yeah.
gets
and
it.
usually that only happens like if you're protecting, if you have chickens or if you have other
Yeah.
animals that fox
But
would
this
kill.
this
was
seemed more,
just,
this is like a fox hunt, like an actual
yeah,
fox
yeah.
hunt, which we don't do. At least I'm not aware of us doing something like that around here. But it seems like fox hunts are they get a fox, they let it loose, then they chase it down with dogs and horses. It's like this is not a remotely fair fight.
Mhm.
But okay, anyway.
Well, I did notice something.
Disturbing.
So, a lot of nudity straight
Mhm.
off, right? I mean,
Mhm.
the bride is nude, extended nude scenes, and then Carmilla, who's under the sand, he brushes away the sand, and she's nude. Although I did notice it seemed a little odd. There's a couple continuity things where he's like, the sand is wet, and he's brushing away the sand, and then you're seeing it from inside the face mask,
Goggles. Mhm.
and the sand is wet and clumpy, and then you switch around to the husband's point of view, and the sand is all dry as he's brushing it away. But anyway, minor thing. But the woman that plays Susan, Maribel Martin, was 17 when this film was released. If we could trust the IMDb birth date, it's like late 1954. So she
Yikes.
wouldn't have turned 18 until a couple months after this movie came out.
Europe.
Was that a body double, or is 17 considered old maiddom?
I don't know. You know,
Well, that's not the only film with questionable young nudity in it at that point in time. Was it Romeo and Juliet? Is that another one?
Oh yeah. Some stuff has come
Walkabout
out
with
Walkabout.
Jenny Agutter too.
Yeah.
So, yeah. She doesn't look that young either. She looks young.
No, she didn't. I didn't
they-
think she was 7. Yeah.
Yeah, and they do mention that she's a child because he's so much older than she is.
And then there's that creepy scene with the actual child.
And that's the maid's daughter, right?
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
Who actually looked 40 in a child's body.
She does. She's got heavy eyebrows. She says she's 14, and then her father goes, "No, she's 12."
Yeah, and then we have a heavily implied sexual assault on her. I'm like, ugh. That's right up there with the fox getting shot. So there's some disturbing elements to this film.
Oh, there definitely is.
Yeah.
There's a lot of.
But I think one of the most surprising things is what you brought up, that this was released while Generalissimo Francisco Franco was still in power, a couple years before.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they did use genre films to kind of explore things that they couldn't in a regular drama. The Blind Dead movies, right? So, are very much in that kind of vein. Let's take a look at some of the posters real quick. That looks like not an original poster. It's a little too clean and crisp. Where'd that go from?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, they have that quote from Plato at the beginning.
Which is so strange. Like, okay.
Yep.
It's always weird when you have a very exploitive movie and then they class it up with a quote from Plato or something, and you're like, oh, who do you think you're fooling here?
Yeah. Do we, before we get too far down this road, Jeff, do we want to do a little special segment?
Oh, that's true. We probably should.
Sorry,
I almost got away with it.
Fairly certain. I was excited to look at the posters.
It wasn't for you kids.
Totally forgot what we were doing. So, it's now time for Taglines with Chad.
Is it really?
It is.
See,
There's not too many, so you should be fine.
I wish I had time to go through these and translate the foreign poster taglines, but I didn't this time. So
Darn it.
There's one on the double poster you didn't put on here, too. The poster with I Dismember Mama. It got a new one.
A new tagline?
Yeah, new tagline, yeah. I might read that one for you.
All right. Tagline number 1 of 2. The revenge of a young bride on her wedding night. Revenge for what?
Kind of on the nose.
Well, I don't think it was on her wedding night.
No. And what was the revenge?
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, the second one goes as follows. Till death do they part.
Exactly. Yeah, and the one on the poster with I Dismember Mama is the same as the first one you read, except it adds savage revenge and a bride ravaged on her wedding night.
None of that happened.
Yeah, this one doesn't have the
Matter of fact, she
savage
said
and the
she
ravage.
told him how good he was, and she liked it.
She liked it.
And gentle listeners and viewers, that has been Taglines with Chad with an assist from Doc.
Not a very good assist, but you know. Hey.
I hear Doc's going to take over the whole tagline.
I've heard that.
Taglines with Doc is not cool. Is this a Spanish version? Or is this Italian? I don't know what I'm talking about.
Spanish. Looks like Spanish. Esposa is wife. Macchiato di sangue, some blood. Sangue is blood.
That sounds like something I order at Starbucks, though.
Machete of blood?
Macchiato di sangue.
What is it, Jeff? You know what it is.
That is a really interesting picture, though.
Yeah, the artwork is
It's
fantastic.
sort of like a cross between a comic book and the cover of the illustration from one of those men's magazines, like
Yeah,
the old Penny Dreadfuls.
right.
I like that it actually is a shot from the movie, although I think they have the person mixed up. But hey, that works.
Hold it there for just a minute. I'm working on it. But for some reason, I'm wanting to say that's Italian. But of course, now that I said that out loud, I'll be wrong.
It might be.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Could be Portuguese.
I think it's
Portuguese
Esposa.
and Spanish are kind of...
It is Italian, and it's Macchiato di sangue is stained with blood.
Stained with blood.
I don't know what the first part is.
Spattered just sounds better, Stained with blood.
Esposa is wife or spouse.
Well, Esposa.
Unabito
She's
di
got-
Sposa is, was it a
Da.
wedding dress.
I suppose.
It's probably the dress of a bride,
Bride dress.
Where's Whitney when you need her?
Doing better things than we are. This one's interesting. Nice. negative
that's
space going on there.
intriguing.
Chad?
Yeah, it's an intriguing use of negative space.
Yeah.
And look at the spatters.
There's
There are
spatters.
Spatter
Interesting.
here, spatter there.
White.
That was very well done, though. The first scene where she's shown killing the husband,
Oh,
and
no.
each stab had more
Yeah,
blood
yeah,
each
yeah,
time, and
And
that
the way
was well
the
done.
way she was behind her holding the knife
Yeah.
as well.
Mhm.
The Carmila character. Interesting. That's the same one?
No,
it's different.
No, very
No,
different.
different. These are
It looks-
interesting because
Yeah.
what we've noticed on classic era is Italian posters very frequently have busty women that don't appear anywhere in the movie. In this one, there are busty women or naked women, and now we're
They're
not
not in the poster.
accentuating that. So,
But that painting is definitely in the movie.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
Interesting.
And
Really
that
well done.
painting is pretty cool too, because there's blood dripping down, and there's blood on the knife part of the time, and anyway, standing there holding a knife. That's a painting you want.
So some pretty cool posters.
Definitely. The director, is anybody familiar with this director as far as other?
Apparently, he was very important in Spain, but I think this is the only horror one he ever did.
Right. The as you might have guessed, the Blu-ray has a. Why am I not seeing it here? It's not telling me who did it. There's a commentary on Blu-ray by Sam Deegan and Kat Ellinger.
Cat Ellinger, yeah.
Yeah, who I think might both write for. Help me out, guys.
Oh,
Diabolique.
Diabolique.
Or maybe even editors, but they had a lot of fun with it, and they talked a lot about Aranda and his importance in Spain.
Looks like he did a couple of more, how do I want to say, maybe nudie pics. One of them is a girl with the golden panties. That's
Well,
kind of like that title. I don't know what it's all about, but except for maybe, well.
if he got away with this, I think Franco died just a couple years after this film came out. So once that happened, boom,
All hell
you know.
broke loose. Yeah.
And then you have folks like Jess Franco were, wow, just really pushing the envelope there. I don't know if there was much envelope left. So, but yeah, from my understanding, he's considered a pretty major figure in Spanish cinema of the time.
And he was one of the founders of the Barcelona School of Film,
Oh, okay. There you go.
which is an important institution in Spain.
All right. Well, our lead actress is Maribel Martín, right? Who you said was not quite of age. Today's.
Well, according to IMDb, if you can buy that,
She does look pretty young.
We seem to be finding more and more of the things wrong. with that, but,
Yeah. Well, she was in a movie called The House That Screamed.
Okay.
Sounds fun.
That's actually a pretty good one.
oh yeah.
We should do that. We
Well,
should
isn't
do that
that
one
earlier?
sometime.
What's that? 69.
That's even.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow. So what? She would have been what? 4? 16,
No.
15.
15.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
And then she was.
But that would actually fit because it's at a girls' school or something like that. if I
That's
remember
right.
correctly.
That's right. Yeah. It looks like she may
That's not a
have gotten
bad
some
movie.
fame in a show called
No.
Novella on TV, so in Spain.
We'll have to do the House that Screams sometime. Oh no, we can't. It's 69. Never mind.
Yes,
Doesn't
we
mean
can.
doesn't mean we can't do it. She
Oh,
did-
maybe it came to America in 1970.
Maybe.
We make our own rules here.
That's
Yeah.
right. What is time?
But what do we think of her performance in this?
Very good.
Yeah.
I thought she did a very good job.
I did like that scene down the bottom one down there where she's in the bird cage,
Yeah.
bird,
yeah.
and she's got him locked out, and it's pretty intense. With no words, they're not talking to each other. It's just him walking around trying to find a way in, and her putting the key on one of the pigeons and sending it on its way. So,
Yeah.
interesting. I thought that was pretty good. I like that scene for what it was. It didn't really do anything gore-wise or story-wise. I don't think even really.
Yeah.
And she kept doing that where she'd raise her arms up when he come around, like when he on their wedding night when she gave in to him or whatever. She put her arms up and just laid back, and she did it again here. I don't know what it's.
Yeah, here I felt like she was. I felt like she was like identifying as like the birds, like she's in flight. But it could also be if you really want to get a crucifixion or something. Listen, this is one of those films that if you're stuck in film school or something, and they're making you write essays where you got to interpret things through some. This is a pretty good one because you can read a lot into this. Much of which probably completely was not what the filmmakers intended.
Right.
But who knows? Maybe it was.
Yeah, you really don't know, do you?
Yeah, that's art for you.
All right, well, let's talk
Well,
about...
I should.
Go ahead.
I want to step back just a second, Doc. It took me a minute.
Sure.
The director of The House That Screamed, Narcisco Ibanez Serrador, is the director of Who Could Kill a Child, a movie we frequently are trying to find but never could find it streaming. So, anyway.
Well, the good news is, by the
Oft
way,
requested.
it did not come to the U.S. until like 71 or 72. So, oh yeah, we got it. I don't care when it was made.
All right. Then we have our lead, the awful
Nameless.
husband.
The nameless husband has no name in this movie.
He's called Husband.
He is.
Simon.
Well, he did some good
Andreu,
stuff here.
Or Andreu. There was something interesting between these two. It's not the chemistry you were used to, like in rom-coms or something like that. It's not that kind of chemistry, but there is kind of this friction spark between the two of them that's really complicated and interesting.
Yeah, he looked really older than she did.
No, it's because he is.
Yeah.
The Night of the Witches.
Yes.
Yes.
Which is a fun movie.
Forbidden
That's by
Photos
the guy.
of a Lady Above Suspicion. These are great titles.
Night of the Witches is a vampire movie done by the guy, I think by the same director who did the Blind Dead. And it's pretty cool. I've never seen Death Walks at Midnight, but it's... So this guy did some giallo. He's got a lot of credits.
He's got almost 200 credits,
Yeah.
Woo.
He's got
Good on him.
The Vampire Academy. Wow. A couple years ago.
Yeah, he was in Beyond Reanimator, excuse me, one of the Reanimator movies, the 2003 version.
Really?
Yeah.
That's the one where
He played the warden. So.
he was in jail, prison.
So he played
Herbert
the
West
warden.
was in prison.
But interesting, semi-successful film. All right, well then we have Alexandra Bastedo, or Bastedo.
Rower.
Yeah, the voluptuous, beautiful blonde who
She's-
plays Carmila.
And I was like, where have I seen her before? And it's like, she's one of the victims in The Ghoul.
Yes. I saw that picture you got on there. Yep.
Yeah. But she is she's, I mean, listen, I love Ingrid Pitt. But I think this is maybe the best Carmilla. For one thing, she's a little closer to the right age because Carmilla is supposed to be younger than the character Ingrid played. But she's really good. She looks, the use of color is great. The way she's always in purple, and you can't take your eyes off her. So you can see where all the characters are kind of bewitched by her. She's just got that quality.
Yeah, she is bewitching. That's a good description for her. Is bewitching. She was okay. She was she was in Casino Royale. Does that make her a Bond girl?
Technically, I don't know.
The one with Peter Sellers, is that what you're...
Yeah.
I mean, it is well...
She's a girl, and she was in a Bond movie, sort of, kind of.
Yeah.
She is definitely something, I
Interesting.
believe. But she's no longer with us, sadly. Died in 2014.
Oh.
Did she literally get buried in the sand? It looks like it, doesn't it?
I guess. I mean,
Yeah,
Looks
you know,
like
when
it.
I first saw that, I was thinking, well, that's one way for a vampire to avoid sunlight,
Yeah.
but then her hand was sticking out.
Yeah,
So,
Right.
I don't know.
and
Didn't seem like
And, you know,
daylight was one of those things. They didn't bring up
daylight's not a
crosses
problem
either.
for Carmilla. Yeah.
That wasn't a problem. And then when he runs back to his car to get something to cover her up, and by the time he pulls something out of his trunk, she's climbing in his car nude.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He's a gent, though. Look at that bottom picture. She looks like a painting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she almost
Yeah.
doesn't look real. So this movie does have some excellent lighting and use of color and, you know, cinematography. This is a well-made film.
It has a giallo feel to it too.
It does. It does.
Even though it's not, the structure isn't near it, but for a good portion of it, you're wondering if it actually has vampires in it at all.
right.
Yeah.
But it does. It can finally get there.
It does.
That
We
was such a
need to see
weird scene.
What's that?
Yeah.
The sand scene?
Yeah, the scuba gear and all that, It was just weird.
And then she says she was out there and she doesn't know how she ended up on the beach.
I guess
I
the tide,
accidentally
the
got
tide-
covered with sand.
Ah.
Yeah.
Pretty
Sure.
fortunate that just, I don't know, but they're eventually we get to coffins. There's coffins, and we get
Yeah.
kind of the implication of teeth, but we do get bites.
Hmm.
A couple bites on the neck. Really weird bites on one.
Yeah, like 3 on the bottom and 2 on top.
Yeah,
Something like that. It
she
was
was
really
Very odd.
like multiple
the
bites. or
young
something.
girl.
Yeah.
I just like how everyone just, yeah, I know. I went out there. I found this girl in the sand, and maybe she should come stay with us. And nobody questions that. Oh yes, thank God he showed up and brushed the sand away from my bosom so I could breathe, because I was probably at least an inch or two down. Could not have possibly gotten out on my own. Like, things happen.
And then when she's all dressed and you look marvelous. And his
Yeah,
wife's
that's
standing right there.
That's
His
a
wife is
perfect
right there.
example of somebody had an idea of something that would look cool that makes no
Mhm.
sense whatsoever.
Yep.
I mean, it's a cool
Yeah.
scene. She's buried in the sand with a hand sticking out and a snorkel, but
And
it makes
you
no
know what?
sense.
They were absolutely right to include it, because what is the one scene that our viewer remembered after all
Oh,
those
yeah,
years?
absolutely.
That's it,
One-
yes.
Absolutely.
He wasn't sure about Christopher Lee. He wasn't sure about it, but the one thing that he totally got right, the one thing that let someone better, smarter than us, figure out what it was. Yeah, girl buried in sand.
Well,
oh yeah,
and
Blood
the-
Spattered Bride.
The rings play a significant
The
part,
rings.
too.
Yeah, that's another good
Yeah.
one to remember.
Interesting
It's weird.
touch. I mean,
It's weird what you remember when you're a kid. When there's these vague things, the little things that stick in your head.
Yeah.
that-
Yeah,
Agreed.
Usually the things that you don't understand, it takes you years to find the answer to.
yeah.
Well, he's the one that found an answer for
That's my
me
life.
too on that weird show that
Oh,
was
the
on
logs?
in the 50s that had the logs falling out. Yeah,
oh my goodness. All right, this is the stabby scene. Yeah, there she is back behind her, helping her push it down. But man, she really gets into it, and there's the spattering.
There's the
That's where all the
aforementioned
spattering
spatter.
is. Yes, and spatter be
lie?
had.
well,
Hey, can I
shortly
just-
after that, she lifts her heart out, right, Carmila?
Yes,
right.
yes, and squeezes it, so blood
Or
goes
his heart,
squirting.
I should say.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I wasn't sure where that knife was going.
I
this
wasn't
is-
either. I was thinking.
Yeah, it's like, what is she lifting up?
Well,
Let me just say,
It is just a
as a
giant
co-
red glob, you know.
Yeah, well, yeah. Ooh,
You can
thanks.
interpret.
As a
Could be.
connoisseur of these things, this is some damn good blood. You know?
Yeah, it is.
It's not hammer blood because
It's
it
not
actually
hammer
looks
blood.
like blood.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, but it looks good.
Well, the opening of the movie is really cool too. There's like a fabric or something. Is it sort of gray or beige or something? And this blood is dripping down it as the titles come on the screen. It made an impression.
She started wearing purple soon after she was
Yes.
under Carmila's influence, didn't she?
That's right.
Do I remember correctly when they do kill that other guy? Don't they shoot him in the crotch?
Yep.
Okay, I just
Blew his ding-a-ling off.
Yeah,
Yep. Ouch.
because they
That's
come
what
up to
you-
it and it's just like this big, like, spot, and They don't.
Yeah.
Really, it's not red.
It
It's
just
like,
looked like the floor of a meat market.
it's just so weird. It's like, what's going on?
Well, the doctor, there's sort of this mystery. This doctor's trailing them around because he's trying to prove they're not supernatural.
Yeah.
And then the doctor gets killed, and then at some point she gets caught by the trap, and this guy says, he says something like, "Well, we were wondering how to catch you. We didn't think of this," or something like that. But yeah, and Susan comes up behind him.
Yep.
And slashes the hell out of him.
Boy, did she. Not a drop of blood on the knife.
No.
That's some great sound effects.
Yeah.
You've titled this one "Artsy Stuff." I like that.
Yeah.
Give us some ideas why this is artsy stuff.
Well, it's just a kind of a cool artsy touch, the painting without a face, which, again, if I were writing this letter for my imaginary film studies class and talking about how this is a commentary on the status of women in late Franco
They're faceless.
Spain. Yeah, faceless and just that's pretty cool. I just love that picture on the bottom. I like a well-composed shot, and that without the people there, that'd be a cool shot. But having her coming along, the placement of the candles, the two figures in the foreground, one taller than the other.
Doorways,
the concentric doorways. That's just a damn good shot right there. They knew what they were doing.
It's interesting when Susan draws her husband. He's holding up a hand, and his
got a little
finger
girl
turns into a naked woman.
He looked like something out of Mad Magazine.
He did, didn't
it? He didn't look as beautiful as the other one. He's like sticking his finger in the air.
It was weird. Yeah. And the young girl, the one we've been mentioning throughout this, has got her face stuck in the hole there. If you guys are wondering why, hey, there's a face there. That's putting her face in there like one of those sideshow attractions.
Mm-hmm.
And she stayed in that damn thing for a good 5 minutes. And it's like, she wasn't enough just to scare her. She had to stay there and watch her.
Weird kid.
It was a weird kid. It reminded me of the kids from Fulci films later on.
Oh yeah.
They always act a little strange, a little off. But we find out later there's a reason. It's kind of sad what happens to her. But
well, and that's pretty straightforward too. But the idea being. What was your quote, Chad? They never die, they come back, or something like that.
Yeah, they'll come back. They never die. They cannot die, or something.
Yeah, I guess she was thinking it was her too. What do we think? Okay, we don't have a shot of it, or maybe we did and I missed it. But there's a shot of the two of them laying in a coffin together. I think that might be the first time I've seen something like that.
Yeah, they're both naked inside the coffin, right?
Yeah,
that wasn't a comedy.
And he,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Carmila and Susan, but it's also kind of cool. He empties several clips from his rifle into this coffin,
he does.
And after a while, the blood is really pouring out of there.
Yeah. He does at least. Yeah, he's a firm believer in the double tap times X. So
exponential.
He doesn't stop. But he does do a quick peep check to make sure he got everything.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the blood was just like oozing out of the bottom. I was like, I mean, historically vampires aren't killed by bullets, right? But
but he goes in later for the coup de grace.
The heart, yeah.
Yeah. Although you're looking at it. I'm glad they put that headline up at the end because. He goes in there and grabs a hold of her breast and puts.
It looks like he was.
And I'm going. Well, this is a weird trophy, and then we see the flash of the newspaper headline. I forget what it is.
Yeah, man
cuts heart out of 3 women or something like that.
So I guess he went off to jail for that. So.
One hopes.
He was
Maybe that was the whole plot.
He might have gotten away with it. It was just the 2 women in the coffin because I think back then you honor killing or killing an unfaithful spouse was considered legit. But the little girl, you got some splaining to do there.
Well, who kneels in front of him and bows and pulls her hair down so he can shoot her
Yeah.
In the
back of the head.
Definitely.
Not on screen, but
No.
I was intrigued by this and the way that they folded these visions in and how the visions eventually turned into reality and I was impressed. I enjoyed it.
That was well done. I just wish it would have the last half of the movie would have sort of kept pace with the first half, or the first half kept pace with the second.
But a lot of films in the 70s are like that. They have that
that's
long
true. That is
lead
true.
to the final 15 minutes. It's kind of what you got a lot. But the cinematography and the actors themselves go a long way to help you.
Yeah, it was a beautiful, beautiful looking film.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all the sets, all the exterior shots of the castle and all that were pretty nice stuff. Scenes in the woods and the scenes where
in the beach.
Yeah, it was beautifully shot.
And wherever that tomb was. I like the scene where he's hiding from the little girl who's in there. Obviously, is up to no good with them in cahoots. She's in cahoots, I say. And it was pretty good shot. It had good composition on it too, because he's hiding in the foreground, which was really interesting. You know, to see it. She's walking along in the background. A small observation. All right, is there any other comments we want to talk about this?
Well, I want to thank Wes for bringing this up, and I have a feeling that someone else mentioned it. I think someone else had mentioned that somewhere in the last few months. Plus, I was doing my usual scroll through Wicked Horror TV and found, oh crap, there's Blood Spattered Bride. So I think I need to watch that.
And Anchor Bay released the film in English, also dubbed in English to clean up the Spanish accents of the actors attempting English throughout. I'm trying to recall. I wonder if the Anchor Bay is the version that's on Wicked TV.
Mondo Macabre put out the Blu-ray.
Okay.
The Wild Side of World Cinema.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if it's how the voices sound like, because it definitely had a European feel, but it didn't feel.
It wasn't terrible.
It wasn't struggling, right? I wasn't struggling to keep up with them. They didn't feel stilted or out of context. So.
No, the version, the Mondo Macabre Blu-ray, you can either hear Spanish or you can hear English. There's no accents or anything. English dubbed, I guess. I don't know. I guess I assumed that was the same one that was on Wicked Horror. It seemed like the same thing that I watched.
Maybe. Of course, this is based on Carmila, and which is also Hammer Films' Vampire Lover 2 years before.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of hard to compare the two and not come away thinking about Vampire Lover.
Let's Scare Jessica to Death.
Yeah, and what else? I guess it's been very popular after.
It seemed like for a while, every time we looked at a movie, it had somebody was talking about Carmila.
But it's interesting. It was a 100-year-old novel then, 1871.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Karnstein.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's our review of the Blood Spattered Bride. Thank you, Bill, for selecting that. We'd love to hear your comments about the film or comments about our comments about the film. Can we comment about their comments about our comments?
Sure. We
can.
Sure.
Sure.
That's the feedback segment. All right. So please leave some comments down below. We'd love to hear from you. Speaking of that, Jeff, do we have any feedback that we want to talk about now?
We do. First thing we have is a suggestion from Andy Morton, and I'm going to read this because it's sort of a reply thing here. So, Andy Morton, says, just watch Long Weekend 1979 again. Creepy and shocking. Possible contender for 70s. I don't know if it's available stateside, though. Well, I looked it up. It's currently on Canopy. And Jerry Chandler responded to him, I've recommended this off and on since the days the Black Saint was on the show. I don't remember. But
A Long Weekend.
that doesn't well, and it was remade. It pops up on and off on the streamers a lot, especially after Not Quite Hollywood boosted its profile and they did the 2008 remake. So Not Quite Hollywood is a Aussie exploitation
Documentary.
documentary kind of.
Okay.
Andy, he says, I love the fact that the entire story is so skillfully done that you can't absolutely say what's actually going wrong. Nature gone mad versus them going paranoid and mad. Andy replies to him, yes, disorientation is the name of the game for sure. Didn't even realize there was a remake. Must watch Not Quite Hollywood again. So that's an interesting film. They talked to directors and the general pattern of the Aussie exploitation film. So, all right. Next up, we have one on Frenzy. I don't know. Chad, you want to read that?
Sure, I'll give it a shot here. I don't know who it's from.
It's down at the
Rebecca.
bottom. Rebecca McCallum.
Rebecca McCallum says, hello there, Grue Crew. I hope this email finds you well. My name is Rebecca, and I'm a writer, editor, speaker, and podcaster from Liverpool in the UK, and I'm also a Hitchcock enthusiast. I've just listened to your podcast episode on Frenzy and really enjoyed the discussion. Always great to hear Frenzy getting some attention and also to hear different perspectives and critiques. If you are interested in reading my work, I have a series of essays, Hitchcock's Women with Moving Pictures Film Club, which focuses on providing a female perspective of the women of Hitch's films. And if you are a Hitch fan in general, you might also enjoy taking a look at my podcast, Talking Hitchcock, on Apple Podcasts. I'm going to seek out your episodes on Psycho and The Birds, too, and look forward to hearing perspective on those. I'm also a big horror fan, too, so I'm looking forward to checking out more discussions on some of my favorites. Hopefully, I can find my number one, which is TCM.
And that's not Turner.
That's
Classic
not
Movies.
Turner Classic.
We do. We will be doing that at some point. It's in our back pocket for another anniversary episode.
Yeah. It would be great to see some other Hitchcock covered too. If you're ever looking for a guest, please feel free to give me a shout, and happy to see if we can make it work. Thanks again, Rebecca. Thanks, Rebecca.
Yes, thank you. So check
Yeah,
out
that's awesome.
Talking Hitchcock is the name of the podcast. So check that out.
That sounds
Well,
great.
I did have a. Hold on a minute here. I was re-looking up the email. I thought I copied the link over there for Hitchcock's Women. Is movingpicturesfilmclub.com/category/Hitchcock's Women.
There you go.
I'll try to remember to put that in the blog notes for folks. Appreciate it, Rebecca.
Absolutely.
Yes, thank you.
That sounds great. Thank you.
And then we had some discussion here back and forth, and maybe you guys can talk about it a little bit. But Dirk Rogers had posted a link to about a 10-minute video of Godzilla versus Megalon, which we just covered the original about a month ago, episode 199. You guys want to talk about that a little bit?
These are amazing. I don't know. I can't remember if Toho's putting these out or not, but Dirk always comes through with the Godzilla stuff, big time. And I think that's where I first saw this one. And this thing is amazing. I mean, Megalon is redesigned.
Looks cool for once.
And he just looks badass. And it's
made him look intimidating for a
he looks scary and powerful, and it didn't look like a man in a suit so much, but it did look like a man in a suit. It's weird, but wonderful. So check that out.
Yeah, it was part of the 70-year anniversary which of course they have Godzilla -1 coming out. That's coming
Which
out.
is getting great reviews. I'm
Yes,
looking
yes.
forward to seeing that in the
Oh,
theater.
Yeah.
cool.
And
Not long now, is it? First
No,
of
it should be out.
1st of December. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they have IMAX screenings and they have 4D screenings.
Ooh, a modern Godzilla at IMAX.
And can you imagine the 4D where every thump shakes your seat? And
Radioactive breath hits you right
yes,
in the face.
yes,
Yeah.
of course. I don't know if you guys saw the trailer, but when they do something really interesting with the back spikes when he gets ready to fire off.
Oh.
Really, really cool stuff. But yeah, there's a lot of Godzilla going on. Of course, on the safe side, we got the Monarch TV series on Apple TV
Yeah.
Plus.
Oh,
And
it looks amazing.
The next year we have what Godzilla X Kong.
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 Wow.
The second of the team up movies. So a lot of Godzilla coming along.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Nice.
Appreciate it. Well, we have thanks for the tip from Dirk, and anybody else wants to throw some of those in the comments, people can check those out. Episode 200, The Exorcist. And we are still, he didn't respond with his name, so we're still a little confused. It's either Joe Ashadali or Joel Ashadali or Joel Ashadali. Who knows?
International man of mystery.
We don't know. It all runs together. But he says, fantastic job, Grue Crew. Well worth the wait. Thank you, sir.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you.
Joe or
Doc?
Joel?
Well, it could be. Yeah, Joe. Anyway. And Doc, could you take this one from Mikey Z?
Actually, could I just say something for Mikey
sir.
Z?
Yes, sir.
Because I got another package from Michael Z, and it was awesome. He's a whiz with the 3D printer, and I wish I had him here. I just didn't think to bring him down. But they are the Ray Harryhausen battling skeletons from Jason and the
Ooh,
Argonauts.
cool.
I got 2 of them, so I can make them fight each other. It's great. Thank you so much. I just love
I
getting
can
these
see-
things.
Oh,
Shot here's this noise from the back room. That's Bill
She
playing.
plays a xylophone while I do it because that's,
okay.
that's
Well,
how
cool.
skeletons sound.
Mikey, he wants a monkey with holding a razor blade next from Phenomena.
Yes, Mikey.
But Mikey, maybe you need to practice on the hands first before you have them holding a razor. So make a bunch of hands, and you know where you can send them.
Well,
I'm moving. I'm changing my address.
Chad got hands, so that's why he's suggesting you get the monkey with the razor.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Here's one from Gregory Crosby.
Oh wait, we didn't do Michael Zatz.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah, read it. Sorry, Doc.
Oh, yeah, you asked me to read it, and then
The actual
discussed-
feedback.
And then I interrupted as I often do.
That's
Mikey Z says, congrats to Decades of Horror 70s episode 200. Thank you, sir. A great achievement initiated by Doc Rotten and Santos Ellen Jr. way back when with The Incredible Melting Man.
That was episode 1, right?
Start off strong. Yep.
Yeah.
He says he's going out on a limb and saying that the mid-70s Toby Hooper gem is going to be episode 300.
Maybe it's
Could
a long
be,
ways
if
off.
it doesn't come
That'd be
sooner.
4 years from now.
Ooh,
I
it's
don't
long
think it's
to
going to be
go.
4 years. I don't think it'll be 4 years. But we'll see. Time will tell, as they say. Thank you, Mike.
Yes.
Hey, congrats. Did you finish that one up? Again, congrats to the 70s.
Oh,
Grue Crew,
I guess I didn't. Yeah, I stopped a sentence shy. Again, congrats to the 70s Grue Crew on a milestone. Keep rocking the 70s, guys.
Another peachy feedback from Mikey Z.
Peachy.
That's peachy. So, Bill, Gregory Crosby, 3325.
Gregory says about The Exorcist, an epic episode for the film upon which the history of the American horror film hinges. There is only before The Exorcist and after The Exorcist.
Might be
The
true.
only other film that comes close to being such a hinge is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Boy, that's getting a lot of love tonight. No doubt being saved for episode 250. Wow, people are just placing their bets on when we're going to do TCM. We might just swerve you and do it for episode 2012,
Yeah.
something completely random.
We're known to be passive aggressive in
Yeah,
such
we are
matters.
like
yeah.
that. I particularly enjoyed this because just last month I read Nat Segalov's The Exorcist Legacy 50 Years of Fear, an excellent deep dive into the genesis of the film and highly recommended for anyone who wants to know everything there is to know about how Blatty and Friedkin created this landmark. Kudos, Grue Crew, and congrats on this milestone. Thank you, Gregory.
Thank you. Yeah, I might have to check that book out. That sounds fun.
It's got to be better than Exorcist Believer. The book.
Yeah.
All right. Appreciate it, Gregory. And
We're just going to gloss over that. We're going to act like.
yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm with
Okay.
you.
All right.
I was okay with it, but it ain't no Exorcist. And it
No,
ain't-
it's not. That's no.
But it's better than Exorcist 2. Would you go that
Well,
far?
There's a high
I don't
bar
know.
to
I go that
Yeah,
far.
yeah.
Okay.
That's the high point of the whole franchise. Right?
So, Chad, we have one from Nick Gadman.
My man Nick.
Nick.
Nick says, so this is the one we've all been waiting for. Although a canny listener pointed out that Texas Chainsaw is still on the menu, so we have that gem to look forward to. I think I might even leave TCM over this one, or love TCM over this one. I'm not going to do that for the whole thing. It was well worth the wait to celebrate the movie on its 50th anniversary, and I think you guys did an impeccable job.
Ooh.
It's a wonderful movie, a hands-down classic, and William Friedkin is easy a top 5 director for me. But it would be irresponsible not to mention the problematic events on set. The short and sweet 2 minutes of a 2-hour show where Crystal Cleveland articulately, yeah, you're right, and succinctly drilled down into why Friedkin's behavior is problematic and how we can make excuses for problematic behavior. Then backed off to allow everyone to move on and continue with the celebration was a mic drop moment.
Nice.
I like when he said articulately for Crystal.
It's succinct. It's succinct.
Crystal, you balanced your pertinent points and our need to celebrate the art wonderfully. 2 opposing opinions can exist in the same space at the same time. That's the nature of the universe, opposite dynamics, yin, yang, dark light, good, evil, etc. Take note, Internet. And then he goes on to say, Bill Mulligan, you're next. There was a point in the show where you doubted Friedkin's integrity when he said Sorcerer wasn't a remake of the 1953 French movie Wages of Fear. Well, I've always taken anything and everything Billy said with a huge dose of salt for sure, but in this case he was kind of right. What he meant was that this film, Sorcerer, wasn't a remake from the film, but was in fact a closer adaptation of the 1950 novel. He wasn't referencing or using the movie for his story. He was going straight back to the source. So when he says he wasn't remaking the film, it's a fair statement for once. Sort of like the thing. People call the James Arness one or the John Carpenter one a remake of the 50s one when it's actually just another interpretation of the book. It's not a sequel or a remake or not. Finally, as someone who worked in music most of my life, it was interesting to hear the penny drop unanimously among the group as to how you all thought the iconic Tubular Bells riff reminded you of John Carpenter's Halloween theme. One was definitely written before the other, and I'd bet my bottom dollar it's no coincidence Carpenter knew what he was doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, Nick. Good to hear from you. And I think I saw that this comment. Bill had replied to him, too, about this idea of the remake. It's not a remake. It's the source material.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. That was a really fun show, and I felt like we did a pretty decent job covering that film without getting bogged down.
We did. There's so much more to talk about with it, too.
And obviously, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is now the elephant in the room.
Oh, my gosh, it sure is.
Covered.
I mean, I guess it's is it the last remaining huge film of the decade?
Well, we haven't done Last House on the Left.
No, we haven't done that one.
But that's not Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Nah.
Yeah. But
doesn't have the same feel-good qualities that Texas Chainsaw has.
No.
Feel good.
The family feeling.
Yeah.
Well, that's the feedback. for this.
That's
one.
that was
feedback.
great. Yeah, good stuff.
All right. Well, we have another episode already planned. Jeff, do we know what we're doing?
I think we do. This one is chosen by Doc.
It's me.
What
Do you
do we
want me
do?
to just go ahead and say it?
Yes.
We're
Do it.
going back to Hammer. Blood from the Mummy's Tomb.
Going back to Hammer. To Hammer.
Hammer time.
Hammer did 4 Mummy movies, and this was the last one in the 70s.
This is the second best one.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. Well, but still, it's a big drop off.
Yeah. You don't like Curse in the Mummy's Tomb or Mummy's Shroud?
No.
Okay.
Where are we watching
Terrible.
that, Doc?
It is on Wicked Horror TV.
Oh, excellent.
Nice.
Excellent.
Awesome. Wicked awesome.
Yep. Another
Wicked.
Hammer film that we need to check off.
There's
There's a few left, right? Because we got
Very
got-
few.
We got Vampire Lovers left. We have the Exorcist one they did. What is the name
To
of
the
that?
Devil a Daughter.
To the Devil a Daughter.
Have we done Countess Dracula?
We haven't done Countess Dracula either.
Okay.
So
Well,
there's a
this
few
Lot
one-
left.
Yeah, Andrew Kerr and
Mhm.
Valerie Leon. Was she in
Yeah.
the Ives movie, or what was she in?
Yes, I believe
Yes,
she
yes.
was. And she's quite fetching in this.
Yeah.
And James Villiers.
I look forward to researching the photographs for this one.
There
Let's
you
just put it
go.
that way.
Just watch where you get them. I
Ah. All right. I think
think that's it, right?
Blood
All
from the
right.
Mummy's Tomb.
All right. We'd love to hear your suggestions too, along with the feedback. If you want to throw some other films other than Texas Chainsaw Massacre at us, we'd love to hear them. That's kind of like got hammered that one home tonight.
We are still keeping our eye out, and I do, guys. We do have. I did go through all our feedbacks and searched it for suggestions and recommendations, and put them all into a list. And we've got like, I don't know, we've got like 60 films recommended between all the decades of horrors.
Wow, that's plenty
some
of
of
content ahead of us.
Yeah, we have plenty of ideas to go forward. Not to say that you shouldn't still give us suggestions, because hey,
Oh, yeah.
we're susceptible.
Yes. 202 films and counting.
When the mood strikes and the payola's ready.
That's right.
Now you realize, like 5 out of the last 6 70s movies were foreign films, if you count Shivers as Canadian, and Godzilla, Japanese, The Psychic, Italian, Blood Spattered Bride, Spanish. Let's see, Lust for a Vampire, British. Anyway,
There you go. All right, Jeff, Chad, Bill, thank you for joining me. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you. Fun as usual.
Yes.
Yeah.
As
Thanks,
usual.
guys.
Thanks, guys.
All right, let's say goodnight.
Night,
good night,
everybody.
everybody.
Gruesome Magazine.